the topic was youth unemployment, a time bomb.
Yes.
Where do you stand? Has the bomb detonated, or is it about to detonate?
Well, you know, the answer is very obvious. Somebody once said that the revolution will never be televised. So if it had taken place, Nancy, you and me would not be having this conversation. But it is serious, and I congratulate Daar for, you know, organizing a very important seminar on this topic. We are indeed living on a time bomb, and it is a very serious matter. I'm sure you get the same thousands, hundreds of text messages, phone calls, pleading, weeping, please find me a job.
I got one even this morning as I was preparing for work.
And we'll get a lot more after this program. So it's a very serious matter. It's a humanitarian disaster for this country. And you know that I used to live in Tunisia, and it happened after we left. We thought everything was perfect, the economy was growing, but the emphasis was on quantitative growth with little concern for young people. Now, the Arab population in North Africa is very young, just like ours.
Yeah.
There are a lot more young people than we oldies. At least nearly 70% are young people. And if we don't create opportunities for them, it's going to be a very serious matter. That is where we're having insurgencies, we're having youth unrest, we're having restlessness, we're having crime, we're having all sorts of social problems. All of these derive from the lack of jobs, because it is said that you know, an empty mind is a devil's workshop. You know, so this is really where we are.
So the bomb, according to your analysis right now, hasn't detonated, hasn't, you know. Well,
it has not detonated, because if it did, there would be an explosion.
Explosion.
There would be even an implosion. Yeah. But it's ticking very close. It's ticking very, very, very close.
Don't you think that perhaps it's already detonated, and we're seeing, just like you said, must there be like an explosion, or young people on the streets, we no go gree, we no go gree, give us jobs, right, and all of that? Is it until we'll begin to see that we know that the bomb has detonated? Or it would also come in form of what you're saying right now, the number of calls you get every day. If it's not give me money, please can you try and see if you can get me something to do?
That's right.
Or can you give me this, can you give me that? The amount, I say that the begging quotient in the country has increased, the begging quotient of the country.
It has increased.
Yes, has increased. So is it until we see we no go agree on the streets, then we know that the bomb has detonated?
In fact, we're even lucky that now they are begging, because when push comes to shove, they are going to demand and they are going to extort by force, if necessary. And it could lead to a massive revolution in this country. And the political elites are not serious, they're not committed. There's a lack of political will really to solve this problem. After World War II, the British sat down and laid out a program of social and economic reform. They made full employment the #1 priority of government, linked to universal access to health.
I like what you said, full employment.
Full employment.
Because we also have what is called on-down employment and unemployment.
Exactly. Yeah. And also even frictional unemployment.
Yes.
You know, but full employment in economic terms is any employment that is not more, if unemployment is not more than 3%. It is considered almost like full employment.
Like what we have in Australia.
That's right.
Yes, it's less than 5%.
Exactly. And Qatar, unemployment is 1% in Qatar, and a few other countries. So it's remarkable, and we need to work towards that, you know, consciously. Our economic planners, our economic managers, we need to work for it constructively and consciously, and creating agencies that measure this unemployment, that actually look for jobs and offer them to young people. Through the NYSC year, there should be a database of every graduate. And the states need to cooperate. Some states have more, some states have less problem of joblessness. Where you have highly skilled labor and, you know, the state, other states need them, you can send them there, doctors, engineers, especially in the north. They need them, but people see there's this discrimination on, oh, he's not from my state, she's not from my state.
And she's not, or he is not from my religion. We don't.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we are becoming very bigoted people, which is very sad, because offering a job to a young person, or a young man, young woman, you should not be looking at where they come from, what language or what religion. It doesn't put food on the table. So we need to go beyond those issues.
Now, the question is, I was chatting with a friend, was it on Tuesday, yes, two days ago, and he did tell me, he said, Nancy, that he's done a lot of research. And what he has found out is that Nigeria doesn't have the problem of unemployment. Okay. But Nigeria has the problem of getting skilled people to fill those employment spaces. He actually gave me an example of that in his office, he needed some people. And the kind of people he got, it was like, is it the same person perhaps with even a first-class certificate?
Yes.
Parading, but can't do the job? So isn't it a matter of also getting people that are competent?
Yes, exactly.
To fill those jobs?
Absolutely. No, my answer to that is yes and no.
Because I also experienced it.
Yes, I don't know where he got his data from, but yes and no. There is a dire need of good people who have literacy, numeracy, and at least some elements of IT. We don't have many of those. You'll be shocked. Even professors can't write proper English. What do you expect them to teach their students?
So how do they get that?
It's getting as bad as that.
How do they get to the position of being a professor?
Yes, indeed. Well, you know, I'm not saying every professor, but
yeah.
There are some, you know, who they write things that you ask yourself, what is going on? And it permeates the whole system. And when I say yes and no, one aspect is that a lot of international companies coming here, investors, actually complain bitterly that they can't have good graduates.
Because we don't have employable people.
We don't have employable people.
Yes.
NYSC Director General some years ago actually complained that some of the NYSC candidates could not actually fill the form properly.
Just like what the Kaduna State Governor complained about some teachers
yes.
some time ago that couldn't even
Indeed.
write their test.
Indeed. But the other dimension of the problem is structural. The fact that the education system has churned out more people in humanities and social sciences and so on, very badly trained, by the way. And then they come in expecting white-collar jobs, and, you know, they are not there. And then, of course, the fact that, you know, we have deindustrialized as a country. By the 70s, we were almost at the stage of industrial takeoff as a country.
Then there was a pause.
There was a pause. Structural adjustment came in, other program, and we literally reversed. The train of industrialization just reversed. Until now, all you have are people hustling, smuggling, and doing things like that. That doesn't create jobs. And you see, the political economy, the oil rentier state, most of it is offshore. They use oil rigs, okay? They pump the oil. You don't need too many people to do that. So it doesn't create jobs. That is why some of the statistics that you showed earlier,
like
you
River
see that,
State, for
yes,
example.
because
River State because it's all related. And it needs less human capital.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know, the statistics have changed, but the highest unemployed used to be Bayelsa, followed by Rivers, and then Akwa Ibom.
Now Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa.
Yes, and these are the principal oil-producing states. So you can see that the petroleum industry doesn't really create. It's not labor-intensive.
So that means that governors of those states need to be more innovative.
They have to
Since
be more innovative.
States are more oil,
yes.
you know, concentrate more on oil. So yes. What can they do to create an enabling environment
yes.
to create jobs in their states?
There's a lot.
That's what I actually said earlier on, that if
small-scale industries. And, you know, we've lost so many opportunities. Shipbuilding, for example, is a massive business that employs a lot of people that can create jobs. There's a lot of riverine areas, building boats, trading, you know, shipping, and maintenance of those ships, building of new ships, all these things, and of course agriculture, palm oil, rubber, all these things can produce a lot of money. And the big mistake is that we just wait every month for oil allocation and all that, and the people in power grab as much of it. The young people don't see it. That is why there's so much bitterness, there's so much agitation. There are so many social problems as a consequence of that.
Doctor, can you speak to me about some of the solutions that you think that we should have right now to solve that problem of youth unemployment?
Well, I can tell you, Nancy, it's a problem that is a huge burden to me.
And it seems that every administration do not have the key to solve or to open that door.
Well, because they are not interested. To be honest, it's not a priority for them.
You think so? Or do they lack ideas on how to go about solving the issues?
Because
I don't want to see it as unwillingness on the part of government, not just this government, but even other governments, previous government, unwillingness on the path. Who would like their young population to be unemployed? So perhaps it's not that of unwillingness, or it's perhaps that of we don't know what to do, or what we think we are doing, it isn't working. And
there's a lot of feudalism in Nigeria. You don't want young people to have opportunities, maybe to grow and become like us. You want them to remain there. They come and they say, ranka dede. Then you pick a few crumbs and throw at them, and then you go. And use some of them as your own touts to harass your opponents. This is a lot of things going on. So it's lack of willingness, it's ignorance, it is also wickedness, I think. And I use that word very, very carefully, because you can imagine parents training their young people up to university. They expect them in their old age that these young people will now be doing jobs, come back and help them. Number one, the strikes and all these social problems, instead of finishing in 4 years, some of them finish in 7 years. Then they come out, for another 5 years, they don't have jobs. The young women are supposed to settle down, get a job, get married. The young men in particular, if you can't have a job, well, how will you think of getting married? And if you don't get married, then you enter into social deviant behavior. And so, it has a huge impact, not only economically, but also socially and also morally. And it is part of the moral crisis of our country. So the leadership of this country must make unemployment a priority, job creation a priority. To be honest with you, why not even transform the NYSC into a military training program? Turn it into a military training program. Not after university, but before university. This is what Israel does. Before you go to university, you must have 2 years of military training, 1 year for women. After the military training, you can now go to university or any other higher education. And I can tell you, it is a great thing that has happened in Israel. Number one, they emerge as a very self-confident country, ready to defend. The young people are so disciplined. After 2 years of military service, you are so disciplined that you don't think of joining a cult group. And you are indoctrinated into loving your country, into being a patriot that is ready to defend his or her country. Then they go to university a little bit more matured, they are focused, they're interested in their studies, and Israel is today the number 2 country for ICT innovation in the world. They have the
and they are not doing bad in security either.
Exactly. And then these young people, during the military training, they form friendships. And then immediately they finish university, they set up companies together with those guys that they were together with. There's honesty, there is discipline, because you've gone through so much together. And you use that as a form of social capital for entrepreneurship. And that is why the Israelis are doing so well. They're such a great innovative society, a technological, industrial society. Medical. And in all fields. So we need our young people to be reoriented. Don't wait for government jobs. Our education system to train people to be able to create jobs, not just wait to get a job somewhere. So there's a whole, array of initiatives.
What other solutions do you have? Because
there's a long-term structural one. There's a long-term structural one. When I talk about the military service, it is because once you finish from that distance, you are more or less the product of the state. You are owned by the state, and the state has a duty to find something for you. In Egypt, it's like that. Every graduate must be given a job. It's under Egyptian law. So we learn this to integrate it into the education system, into the training program, but we need structural solutions. We need industrialization. That is the only way you can absorb so many people. Look, we must never listen to these international agencies. Never listen to them.
What do you mean by that?
Because they are not working.
And you are someone that has worked with.
I've worked
a lot with them.
You know, they can promote you to any rank, and they promoted me so long as you don't talk about two things in relation to Africa.
Which are?
Don't talk about technology. Don't. If you talk, you are finished. Don't talk about industrialization. And I realized over decades that their game plan is to make Africa a giant dumping ground where nothing will happen but a dumping ground for their toxic wastes, a dumping ground for their products. And they come in and they pick the brightest, give them scholarships, take them abroad. We have more Nigerian doctors in America than in Nigeria. If you would run
that are well trained.
Very well trained.
Yes.
They take all of them.
Well
so
they've
tried to encourage us to create a social system where they can pick some of our best, take them away, and live as, I'm not saying those who are here are not equally good. And then, of course, the other desperados will walk through the Sahara Desert trying to get to Europe, and they drown in the sea. We are having these things every single day. It's just that it is not so much reported as, it's only the dramatic ones that get reported. So structural. Go into industrialization, go into technology, go into innovation. And we need to have a database of all our young people, especially those that are educated, that are well trained. Have a database of them. If there are job opportunities, an agency should be there. If there are job opportunities, you bring those young people to their attention and use that to train them. We should open up entrepreneurship skills, and we need at least 200 technical institutions in this country. I'm talking about plumbing, carpentry, woodworks, steelworks. We need those people, we know those technical colleges. You know, Nancy, when you were moving perhaps to your new home, you call somebody to paint. Even painting is a problem. Setting tiles
tile is a problem.
It's a problem.
You find out that the person that knows how to do it well is a foreigner, from a West African.
From Togo, from Ghana, from Benin Republic. You know, so we need these young people to have skills. The ITF should step up its act and go into setting up technical colleges where people are well trained in electrical works. We still have
technical colleges, but I don't know. I remember when I was in secondary school.
There are too few. There are too few for a country of almost 200 million people. They are just very few compared to the size of our population and what we actually need. And then in Germany, you can never graduate. If you're in engineering technology, you can never graduate until you have some years of practical experience. So in Germany, you go to school in the morning, by late afternoon, you are in the factory. You must learn to use your hands. You must learn to have skills that are marketable. So we need all those programs in place. And some of these agencies for employment have become comatose. And then thirdly, I would say, you know, our budget is 30% capital, 70% recurrent. In China, Singapore, Malaysia, it is exactly the opposite. It is 30% recurrent, 70% capital. We need infrastructures. You can imagine if we had electricity in this country that is stable, unemployment will reduce by maybe actually 50%. Just electricity. If we could fix that problem, because the vulcanizer, the people that do your hair, they will be having something. It is a crime against humanity, Nancy, that our young people have been deprived of a future. And we really must apologize. Some of us, I wouldn't say you are much younger than that, but some of us must apologize to these young people. We have failed them as a country.
In fact, apologize to me too.
Okay, I apologize. No, you're not doing badly.
Yes.
You're not doing badly.
Because the only money I think I've eaten from government, so to speak.
It's not about
NYSC money.
No, it's not about eating from government.
Yes. No, as people will say.
Exactly. People will say
the money exactly. I don't, the only money when I don't chop.
Yeah, exactly.
I try
that is very true. In fact, even you have a right to say that. But some of us, from university, we have scholarships. I can tell you, Nancy, that when we graduated, we were doing Yanga.
Yes.
For Shell, ExxonMobil, they become begging us, you know?
But the quality of graduates in your time,
yes,
perhaps we're also better than the quality of graduates we're seeing now.
That is very true, because before the system, the decay and they collapse. I was told in University of Maiduguri, some young people went into, final year students, they went to see one of their professors. And they just opened their jalabiya and told him that, look, this is AK-47. This is our names, these are our numbers. Oga, make it not fail us. And they walked away. They walked away. I'm told today you can actually buy your class of degree, depending on how much you pay. You can buy first class, you can buy 2-1, you can buy any class of degree. There are people, very rich kids, their parents buy Land Cruisers and give some lecturers. In my time, God forbid. You know, when I was a lecturer in the University of London, the son of the royal family of Kuwait, I caught him cheating in an exam. And I can tell you, his uncle came, called me aside, brought a brand new keys to a brand new BMW 7 Series. And I was riding a Toyota Jalopy as a young lecturer at that time. I looked at it and I said, Oga, keep your BMW. I would ask this boy to sign that if I ever caught him in this act, he will be expelled. To me, the idea of collecting money as a lecturer is so disgusting. It's so evil. I cannot even bear to think of it. In the Ahmadu Bello University of our time, you cannot even dream of it. If you ever try to put money into a script, if it is discovered, you will leave the university. That is how Ahmadu Bello was. But today, the system has decayed, you know. And if you have, you know, people who have to bribe their way through university, they take it as the normal way of life. They are half-baked, they are ill-trained, they are barely literate, and in many cases, even unemployable. So training programs, the reform of the university system.
It's a whole lot, Doctor.
It's
a whole lot. Our financial
lot.
Institutions, what are their role? You talked about industrialization, for example.
Yes.
And what came to my mind, and during that Daar national discourse, I remember the labor representative, Issa Aremu, saying, oh, I would want you people to support me to wear this clothes. Because he was putting on a native.
Yes.
And, you know, from where I was watching, I said, okay, fantastic. But the other question we should also be asking ourselves, okay, one will say what you're putting on right now is traditional. Let's wear this kind of clothes.
It's handmade from Benue.
Good.
From a small village called Ushongo.
Okay.
So,
but what came to my mind?
I'm a villager, by the way.
Yeah, but what came to my mind, Doctor, is that in as much as we are thinking, let's do made in Nigeria, let's wear Adire, let's wear Ankara, I think the conversation should be lifted to the point that what kind of textiles are we producing? Should we only produce the Ankaras? What if I don't want to wear Ankara? No, and I want to wear a suit, for example.
Exactly.
Can't a material like this be produced in Nigeria and I use it to sew what I'm wearing? Exactly. Myself when I watched, I was like, we need to move beyond that conversation. We need to. Just like polyester, we should produce those kind of fabrics. If you want to wear an Ankara native, fantastic. If you don't want to, if you want to wear a suit, you're working in a bank, let that material be produced in Nigeria and the tailor sews it. That is how we'll get value. That is, I think that conversation.
The garment industry.
I'm not looking at Ankara made in Nigeria. What are you? Sure. That's not made in Nigeria.
It's not. And you know the statistics you gave. Kaduna State ranks highest in the north for unemployment. And the reason is very simple. There used to be about 12 textile, factories, industries in Kaduna.
Where are they now?
They have all gone. They've all disappeared. And, the labor have nothing else to do. So that is a major factor. We need not only textiles industry, we need also garment industry, with designs and so on that fit. You can make a suit that fits our weather. Exactly. And, the Chinese...
I'm not just thinking, okay, let me wear skirt and blouse or tie gele. That means it's made in Nigeria. Come on, I think we should lift ourselves out of that conversation. And you mentioned garment. It's a metaphor for all the other things that we need to do as a country. The Chinese, when they were starting off their industrialization, they told themselves that the size of our population, there are things that we must be self-sufficient in. Food, clothing, housing, the basic things that people use on a daily basis, we must learn to produce them ourselves, including household appliances. Okay, Doctor, let me just halt you here. Let's just take a few comments coming through with just about 30 seconds. Chidi says, good morning, Nancy. Why is this Oga, why not this Oga come out and contest for presidency? Who is he afraid of? I love him. You know, a lot of people are coming out now, so I think you are the only one left. Dele says, as help us check this unemployment. While Amor says there are many brilliant unemployed youths and so many dumb employed youths because of nepotism, mediocrity, and ethnicity. I think I should take this last one. He heard Dosa Sonny says, thanks, dear, I'm heartbroken because after 3 years out of job, the job I got in Lagos, I was asked to reduce my age, but because I refused, I was not given the job. Lastly, we as a country do not specifically know our population. We are either more or less. I think we'll leave it at that. The topic of unemployment cannot be finished in one day or in one session of the program.
But we must never give up, and I tell the young people, never give up. And as Churchill will say, never, never, never give up.
Never give up. We stay in church here.